Welcome to you all. Thank you for coming. Let me start off by thanking the men and women who made this endeavor possible and meaningful. Jody Lewin, Keith Watley. Excuse me, can you hear me back there? Keith Watley, Jamie Carroll, Jennifer Scaife, John Irwin, Jonathan Simon, Father Barber, as well as all of my brothers in blue, who've given so freely of their time and energy so that our voices can finally be heard. My part of the presentation has gone through several transformations because it seems that each day I get some additional information that sort of changes my perspective on things. Most recently, it was the agenda indicating that I was going to do institutional impact and I had to go for human impact. And so I'll do my best to represent that. Like my colleagues, I too have been viewing the testimony given at the Senate Public Safety informational hearing. And I found it to be quite interesting and informative. Before I get into my impressions, let me first express my deepest sympathy for the losses suffered by the women who testified at those hearings, and for anyone else who suffered that sort of loss and the victim of a violent crime. And as well, to equally express my regret that the criminal justice system has failed. It was the expressions of the women who testified at that hearing, right? The expressions of their loss, their pain, and their frustration that best informed me as to what the true nature of this bill is all about. For the past couple of weeks or so, months or so, excuse me, my colleagues and I have been poring over the provisions of Proposition 9, trying to determine its intent and its impact. And I, at some point thought that we had it all figured out until I viewed the tapes at informational hearing. We thought that everyone associated with Henry Nicholas was driven by the same force, and that's revenge. What sort of came through at those hearings was the sincerity and the authenticity of those women. This was real pain that we were faced with. And it shook me on a very deep and personal level. And it cast a shadow of doubt in my mind. Some of what they said, though, troubles me because it's inconsistent with what we determined the spirit of this initiative to be. On several occasions, and by as many speakers, I heard one of the women say, "We don't want to take anything away from anyone. We just want equal rights." They also asked that the opponents stop referring to Proposition 9 as a revenge bill. These ladies are obviously well-intentioned and want nothing more than to be treated fairly and equal and with respect. And if that were all that Proposition 9 were about, we wouldn't be having this dialogue. However, it doesn't stop there. It purports to establish a 15-year parole denial period that is, in my opinion, mean-spirited. And I'm very deeply concerned about that. I remain astounded by how nonchalantly the proponents refer to the 15-year denials as being nothing more than a mechanism whereby the frequency of parole consideration hearings will be reduced, thereby minimizing the need for survivors to re-experience the trauma. Not one of the women who testified at the hearing seemed to be aware or understand the impact of a 15-year parole denial. And of the impact it would have on the thousands of men and women currently incarcerated for life sentences. who've done everything required of them under law, by the Board of Prison Terms, by their families, and who for all intents and purposes have paid their debts to society. And here today I submit to you that would be a crushing blow for a man who served, for a man or woman who served 25 years on a 15-year life term, and to go into a parole board and to get a 15-year denial. This lack of understanding on their part isn't their fault, and I certainly don't hold it against them. I'm grateful for this opportunity to get to speak and to engage in a dialogue with the proponents of the measure. Maybe some mutual understanding and accord can be reached by this. And of course, it's my desire too, that they would reconsider their support for this initiative. Because this bill not only threatens the lives of the incarcerated men and women it will most directly impact, it also indirectly impacts the lives of our children, who are 6 times more likely to wind up in prison as a result of having an incarcerated parent. The proponents of this bill say they don't want to take anything away from anyone. However, Proposition 9 takes away hope, and hope is what holds families together. Hope is what makes rehabilitation possible. And all the experts say, from wardens, criminologists, and Supreme Court justices, that rehabilitation is the only true way to ensure public safety. In conclusion, I'd like to reiterate the fact that Proposition 9 is simply about giving survivors of violent crimes equal rights. I would not be sitting here right now talking to you. I fully support any measure that would provide dignity and equality for victims throughout the criminal justice process. However, there's something very ominous and destructive about Proposition 9 that would take away hope and destroy families. With that, I'll rest my case and encourage everyone to vote no for